system to steal from him, because elections were not very far when Raila Odinga got into the handshake. Why didn't he put mitigation measures to make sure that nobody steals from him? Now, that is the first question. The second question I want to ask you is about the server. And I think, Mzalendo, I will need you to come and explain this better. We have asked here again and again. We gave an example at the constituency level, and I want you to, you rubbished something that the IBC argued. If you look at Election Act 2016, it says that the party has the right to have agents, their agents at the polling station, as a safeguard to make sure that there is no manipulation at the polling level. Now, if you remember, the process is that once the elections have been are finished, they have counted, they sign and say, we agree on this form that the votes that are from here is either 1 million or 500 or this amount of votes. Then that form, they take a photo and then they upload it. Why didn't Raila make sure that his agents truly guarded at the polling center and at the polling level? Let me stop there as you answer that, and actually we ask a question to you as well.
I actually have two questions on that option of the agents. If you have the option of bringing an agent to make sure that nobody messes with your votes and you don't do so, do you really have the right to come back and complain that you suspect that you were rigged when you took the option of not using that safeguard that is available to you? Number two, when you say open the server, it has been explained by the programmer that that is their intellectual property. This is a country that is not a Kenyan company, it is another country. And that other country is not a government agency of that country, it is a private company. If they have said that they cannot give you that information, then you're telling Ruto you have to give us that information, don't you think at that time you're asking for something that is impossible? Because the person who did this transaction to get the contract was IEBC. The sitting president was Uhuru. And Raila had a very big say in what goes. Because at one time, Uhuru said that his advisor is Raila. So at that time, he had the option of saying, let's not go to Venezuela because their 2019 or 2020 election was marred with inconsistencies. And it is not a stable country right now. Let us look, they could have refused that contract, but they were not keen. So that's what I'm asking. Why is Raila holding Ruto accountable for providing the server when he knows it is not within Ruto's ability or jurisdiction to force the company to open the server?
Maina, maswali ndio hayo.
The debates in Kenya are very interesting because it's like a ping pong thing. Why this? Why that? From where I stand and from where many Kenyans stand, Raila Odinga was not in government. Between Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto, if you ask that question to a standard 2 kid, they will tell you that the deputy president for the 10 years.
I think you're deflecting. I did not say you heard me very well because it is my question you're answering. So answer it accurately. I did not say anything about Raila being in government. I was very careful. I asked you, Uhuru said that he consults with Raila in the running of the government since the handshake. And because Raila had a big say or the ear of the president, when they saw that Chebukati was going to Venezuela, this country that is not stable, an unstable country that is under sanctions for mismanagement of their own election, why did he not advise or ask Uhuru to stop Chebukati from going to contract with them? That's what I asked. So I never talked about Raila being in government. So just answer it as I asked it, please.
Okay. The reason why Raila did not advise Uhuru Kenyatta to to i- to interfere with the IBC is because Raila is not a dictator. He is not
I'm
a he is not
interfering. If they didn't, if they
he does not believe in interference of independent institutions, and that is why
listen,
we love him.
I don't even want to hear it because
I want
the reason
Ashley,
was a valid
Ashley,
reason. It is a better reason than saying
come
open
on, Ashley.
because I
Come
gave a good reason. They were not.
Ashley, 1 minute. Just give him time to answer the question. Let him conclude that to answer your question before you respond. That way, we will make sense out of what he says, or you can debunk what he says. So go ahead, Mina.
Yeah, yeah. I'll start saying that when you are an Pan African, when you believe in the rule of law, and when the institution says or the constitution says that the constitution bodies are independent, you allow them to do things independently, and that is why we love Mr. Laila Amolo Odinga, because he does not want to interfere with the institutions. So what we are doing now, because the institutions seems to be infiltrated by some uncouth government officials. Now we have decided as a people that we can exercise our sovereignty directly. The issue you asked about, if your wife has been used for 5 times to be stolen or to aid in stealing, what you should have thrown away your wife. Everything in Kenya today has a price. Everybody has a price. And so even if you bring another wife, there is a possibility still he will be bought and be used to steal an election. And therefore, for me, I think our country is in a mess,
Mina,
and I don't
Mina,
know what will happen,
Mina.
because we will not have a very good we will not have an election 2027,
Uh,
because it is predetermined. And when you say that someone talked about, I think the lady talked about that there is a sijui property, what sijui, intellectual property of who, of why and when, because this is a public exercise, and the constitution guarantees that elections must be transparent and verifiable. So anybody coming to Kenya to conduct a public exercise should know that it is not his property. We are paying him good check, so he should give us. We are giving him a clean check. He should give us a clean job. And let me put it this way, so that you understand: if you contracted any job, even if it's a road, it should be subjected to public scrutiny, because the people using that road, it are not your people. You're just a person to deliver services. You should bring those services and tell us what exactly happened.
You're
okay,
double speaking
okay.
because you say that Raila respects.
Actually, I need to moderate so that I give you time, um, so that you can respond. Um, Before you respond, and actually, I want to respond. I want you to respond after this. Minor, you've made two conclusions. One, you have said there is no election. Every woman you marry in Kenya is compromised. Then why are you asking Ruto to do the impossible that you or any other person cannot do? The other thing you've talked about, we give you a clean job, you do a clean job. We give you a clean check, and you do a clean job. Why aren't you answering the question Ashley asked you? Why didn't your brother Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta or Raila, through his brother Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, force and make sure that the people that we paid for the services must or had to give us a clean job? Why are you not answering that question? Ashley, go ahead and answer that question.
I think He answered. He said because Raila respects institutions, so he let IBC do their work. So he's saying it has to be subjected to public scrutiny. We don't have access to that information until they come and tell us. So what I was saying, when the contract was made, why didn't even Raila want to see what the contract says? Because he could have seen where they say they reserve the right to, some information, that information that he's saying he cannot provide. But you cannot come after the fact and say, no, they shouldn't have done that. How is Ruto involved in that? Ruto isn't. It is that company that you said Raila respects institutions. So Raila should be asking IEBC. And when he asked IBC contracted with a company that has said they cannot open the server because of the contract. So since he respects institutions, he should learn from that, and going forward, ask his leaders that are in parliament that can make laws to change that, so that there can be stipulations as to who IEBC contracts with in future for our election. So that was a wrong he did, and that is something he should not learn from, but not go back and start saying we need the server open. The server, as they are saying, is in a foreign country. We do not have any agreements with that country for extradition. So there's no way, if they say they won't bring it, they won't open it, whether they mess with the election or not, we have nothing we can do. That's a dead end. And when there's a dead end, and he's saying he will keep demonstrating until that dead end, when nobody in Kenya has a way, any way possible, unless God, to make those people open this. Even their own government cannot do it. So that is why we are saying he needs to not keep saying open the server, because the person who is supposed to open the server is in a different country, and he respects the institution. And the IBC, he let the IBC do work without any supervision from the president, which by the president supervising that contract to make sure it is valid and has no monkey business, would have been good due diligence. So they didn't do that. It is their fault that they were sleeping. And if Chebukati knew that they are lousy and he took advantage of that, they have themselves to blame, but they can learn from it and make those changes now, so that in the next election, that loophole has been sealed. That is moving the country forward. That is what a patriot does now. What a terrorist does is hold the country captive, knowing very well that there is nothing that Ruto can do to open the server. And once you tolerate a terrorist, once you agree what they are saying, they will learn that in future, if they want something, they will just close down business. So like America says, we do not negotiate with terrorists. When people are wanting to blackmail the economy so you can listen to them, I think Ruto should say the same thing, that you will not negotiate with terrorists.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah,
And Black, I'm bringing you in as I also Minor, you didn't answer my questions, but I also want to ask you.
Yeah,
now that Raila respects institutions, so if we found a police stealing from the public, will he respect the institution and not hold him accountable? So think about it as Black comes in, and then I will bring you back here.
Hello once again.
Black, can you turn on your camera at least to come to the studio? I don't want people to speak from the backstage.
Okay, just a minute. I'm making some movements.
Yeah, you can turn on the camera and
after maybe 5-10 minutes, if I'll be somewhere where I'll be seated.
Yeah, keep
because
going.
I'm working as I'm speaking.
All right.
Great. Then once I reach the spot where I'll be seated, then
great.
Because I was on camera just a while ago. I'll just get back to camera. But just before that, as I walk, I want to say one thing. I think it is about time our dear brothers and sisters from the other end should either now visit a therapist or something of that sort, because now I think they're starting to sound like mad people. Ini kama wazimu sasa. They are requesting for the things which they know it's impossible. And if you hear the way they talk, it's like there are people that they're not mentally correct. Sorry to say. I'm sorry to say this, but that's how I view it. It's like somehow I mean, there are far much bigger things katika hii Kenya yetu ambayo inatusumbua. I mean, you can sit down, wake up in the morning, and the only thing that can come out of your mouth is servers. I mean, I would rather hear someone telling me about the cost of living, and then we can discuss that. I said that a million times. We can talk about how cost of electricity has gone up and what can be done. I mean, those are the kind of things we can discuss because that affects and cut across everyone, despite whichever side of the political affiliation you are in. But when I hear, I mean, grown-up people talking about, when I hear server, I mean, when we already know it's impossible, we already have a sitting president, and there's nothing you can do. You can do at this point of time in matters elections that have already been declared, and he has been sworn in. So hizo issue, it's, I mean, come on. So for once, tujaribu kusonga mbele, tuache vitu vingine ambavyo havitusaidii bana. That is an issue ambayo ilikuwa inahusu mzee wetu na mambo iko kuendea vizuri, so be it. Sorry, next time. Just like Madam Ashley just said, the president should not negotiate with terrorists. Thank you.
And of course the terrorists, the so-called terrorists will not negotiate with bandits.
Minor, bringing you in. Let me read something here, and then you next. Wait, Black. Someone has written something very important here. He says that intellectual property rights does not allow for access to servers. Do you people understand how servers work really? You can access the server through your phone, but how do you implement CIA policy when you have many actuators who are proxies of threats? Opening servers means anyone can tamper and manipulating information there. Who will be accountable, even if audit trail and non-repudiation is considered?
Thank you.
This is someone who understands how servers work. But I also want to either agree or disagree with him that you can only open the servers from your phone if you do have access to that server, or if the CIA policies are applied. So that's why we are saying that the servers are not physically. It doesn't mean that we have to go to Venezuela to open the servers. We are virtual servers. You can log into, you can sit on your computer or your phone and log into a virtual server where all this information is stored. But the question is, why are you asking us to open the server when election is won and declared at the polling station? Nobody's answering this, Black. Can someone help us understand this, Black? Do you understand? Where is Mzalendo? And Minor, you wanted to respond. And then Ben, you come back.
Everything in Kenya is wrong, and it starts with the server. Until we open the server, nothing else will make sense in this country. And that is where we are saying, in simple terms, call us terrorists, bandits, whatever name you call us, the Azimio people, we shall not relent. We shall undermine forever until that server is brought and it is opened, and we see exactly what. Why are you so scared?
I'm laughing because you don't to understand about.
Why is Ruto so scared of opening the server? Funny, how many votes did this man get?
Ruto has.
He has. He is the president.
For your time to respond, please.
He has. Why did you open the server?
Hang on, Ashley. Let us be fair. Let's give Maina time to respond. Then you have all the time to question him, please. Go ahead, Maina.
The backbone of a country in terms of politics, economics, governance, it is political. Until we solve the political equation, the political question, we shall never move on as this country. And that is why we are saying, because we cannot use the institutions that are there because they are corrupted, we are going to use the streets. We are going to bring down we are going to make sure that there's nothing that is going to operate in this country until we solve the political question. And the
Maina,
political question in Kenya today is, without the server, then there's no relenting. We shall be in the street, we shall move and cry, and we shall make sure that the world knows there is a problem in Kenya. And that problem has to be solved politically. That is why we are saying, open the server. If Ruto won squarely, we are going to salute him and say, Rais mtukufu, rais endelea kuongoza Kenya. But if he stole elections, then it will be good for Kenyans to know, so that the next election we can have what we call checkpoints, and what we call
mitigation.
mitigation, so that we can not allow people to steal election and walk around in this country saying they are president and yet they never won.
Mise, is this called local madness or international madness? Huh?
I don't know. Ben,
Yani, do you have even words for this guy? I just don't know from which world these people come from. They still think that there is something called a server that will be open and they get the figures right without even looking at the laws of that particular company and IBC, without even looking at the laws regarding intellectual property. These guys are crazy. I'm telling you, it's like trying to negotiate with a lunatic. The madman or woman in your village. Unakaa chini unajaribu anakuambia yeye yuko mzima, and you're seeing huyu kweli ni wazimu. Anakuambia I'm okay, I'm very much okay. Call the whole village and the whole village knows that this is the mad woman in the village. Every market has a mad person. So for Maina, I think it is so unfortunate. Your point of argument is so narrow and so backward that you can only sell among people who are not knowledgeable at all. So it is unfortunate for you, somebody like you, to be selling this kind of propaganda. That the international community will see you as a mad person. They will not even give you time or listen to this kind of nonsense. Thank you.
I'm back, I think so, at least
Ben,
now.
Yes, you will. Let's go to Ben. In the meantime, Minor, if you can see my screen, read what is CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Let me talk what confidentiality means: the safety of that information. Integrity, is it obtained in the manner which it's supposed to be obtained, without any intrusion, without any tampering with the information. And availability is that whenever you want it to access it, is it there in an easy and accessible way that you can access it at any time. Those are the three principles of the server or security that has to be factored. Now, the question that the other gentleman posed here is that now that this one here, I think I want to bring it to the screen so that we can argue from a sober. Now we are talking about intellectual property rights. Now that our information is with the Venezuela government, so we are lacking a few things. It's not available for us to view it and access it the way we want it, right? Is there integrity in the manner that is handled? We don't know, right? Is it safe? We still don't know. So to a certain extent, you are right, but your argument is pegged on a ground that is not substantive, because this is after the information has been submitted to these people, after the information has left the polling station. And if indeed, like you said, that there were duplicate of same forms, with the same serial numbers that were being manipulated, why don't you go to the polling station and bring those paper ballot boxes from there and bring and say, look at this that is uploaded on the portal is different from what we obtained or that was submitted at the polling station. Why is Azimio not doing that? This way they can discredit the integrity and confidentiality of the information. Go ahead, Benson.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Miss. To me, I tend to disagree with all of you, and I tend also to agree with all of you with what you are saying. At the end of the day, there's some questions and answers we might give here or ask here that we might not find the real issues. For once, Maina is saying they are going with the maandamano. It's your right to go with maandamano. But eventually, what will happen? I'm just giving you what will happen. Give it a month. After a month, they will not go for government. I'm not supporting any side. I'm not from government or what, but I'm just giving you the scenario that will happen. When you will be coming from work, you will meet those boys or those young ladies there. They will take everything from you because they will have nothing, because this thing is throwing country into like whereby like we're not collecting tax and like what happens. So you can, as well as you're right, you can go for that maandamano, but eventually what are the repercussions that even the innocent Kenyans who are not interested, not in government, not supporting Azimio or supporting Kenya Kwanza, but going on with their businesses, they are going to be affected. That is one. Then secondly, if all of us can just put on that patriotic in us as Kenyans, that where we put Kenya first, the things that I tell you here will not happen. Watu wataandamana, lakini hakuna siku yenye hata hiyo sava mnasema itafunguliwa. That is something yenye haitafanyika. The only thing yenye itafanyika, we will keep on losing our brothers, we will keep on losing our property. Eventually kitu itafanyika, utapata itaenda tribe by tribe, because at the end of the day, one day, sisemi hivyo, lakini Kenya is a tribal country. One day watu watasema, the Kalenjin will say, unasumbua kijana wetu sana. What will they do? And this is something that will come in the near future. Sisemi kwa baya, lakini hiyo ni kitu ambacho mimi nafikiria, kwa sababu kitu lazima tukubali, nchi yetu ni nchi ambayo iko na makabila mingi, na kila wakati watu wanasema watu wetu. Na kama ako hapo unaona hii kitu nasema, labda mtu atakuja kusema nyinyi mnasumbua kijana wetu. Sasa hata sisi hata pia tufanye nini? Tufanye hivyo, na that's where the country will go. So what I'm just asking of everybody, if they can listen, even the leadership from Azimio, the leadership from the government, leadership from the police, let us apply wisdom here. Let us agree, this is our country. Yeah, this is our country, and there is no any other country that we will have. ODM and Azimio, they will die soon. The KK government ita rule for even 10 years or how many years, itaisha tu na bado Kenya itabaki. Yeah. So if all of them can just listen, that is my appeal, kwa sababu mimi siwezi sema na nini na wakuja watatue jambo moja tu, hii Kenya. Wakitatua, watu watakuwa na amani. hapo tu kwa IEBC, kwa sababu hata unaona hata saizi unasikia Azimio wanasema kwamba it's not constitution to the law. Hiyo si bado tu hao watu wenye watakuwa hapo ni Wakenya, si ndio? Na labda wanaona au wenye watakuwa hapo ni wenye watakuwa na support the government, unaona. So ikifika mali kama hapo, inaka watu waongee, yeah? Tusikue kwamba tunaweka watu katika IEBC, kwa IEBC ambao wanatutetea, na kwa hapo the same IEBC, that's how still I'm talking of electoral injustice. Angalia hata some of the elections, unaweza pata like when you look at some other counties, especially in the strongholds, you can find like a governor anapata even like around 100 votes more than president. Inakuambia ati kuna watu, alafu certain amount of people, like the majority of people that came and voted only for president, and that paper is won. You know, it's not all about in the presidency, it's about everywhere. When we are talking of electoral injustice, we are not talking about the presidential election. We are not talking, but we are talking about the entire process. You know, like right now, unajua kama IEBC saizi imesimama, kuna kitu inaendelea, and the days zinaenda, unaona. Then by the time hizi fracas zitatulia, utapata tumebaki hata na miaka ngapi? 2. Na hizi miaka 2, do you think like even if these people they have given the mandate, will they fulfill what is required of them? And that's when election come and somebody will say this was not done the right way, you know. So that is my only appeal. Mimi pali nimefika, siwezi sema nini, lakini nasema tu kama Wakenya tuangalie vitu ambazo zinaweza tusaidia. Hapa kuongozi watapigana tu, na tukipata electoral commission yenye watu wenye awathamani their godfathers, ambapo Raila ama Kalonzo ama Martha Karua or Ruto or any other body or any other person will not have their people in the commission, then we will heal ourselves. Lakini kama hakuna, bado tu miaka 4 tutakuja kwa hii studio. Kama itakuwa maandamano, itakuwa jambo lingine. Itakuja tu hapa na mtakuja kusema ni ukweli.
Asante Bernard. Ashley, you wanted to respond, and then I'll bring in Black.
No, I'll wait for my turn to give my submission. Thank you.
Okay. Maina, after hii maneno yote,
yeah, unajua tumefika mahali tukaanza kusema hello.
Ngoja kwanza Maina.
Can you hear me?
Yes. After hii maneno yote umesema dunia nchi yetu iende tu iende kama mbaya katambe.
Kama kaende because ni kama hatutaielewana. Everybody has his own point of view. Na ni kama vile mi naona ni watu wengine waoni hivyo. Mi naona hii nchi iende vizuri, na tunaona ya kwamba hiyo mambo ya kutuambia sijui CIA wamesema sijui hii information ya Wakenya voters register yetu sijui ni siri yao ni nini, that is hogwash to me. What are you telling me? That we have given our sovereignty to other countries? That we cannot access the data that was I mean, what risk is there for me to know how I voted? And then you're telling people here, sijui is mad, sijui every soko has his madness, sijui has his mad person. What is the problem with Kenyans? Can't you see the danger? What does the Constitution say? The Constitution says that every election must be very verifiable. Verifiable is a word that happens past. Yeah, it's like an accountability word. That after we have voted, we need to verify. So anybody bringing the story of CIA and FBI says what? That is hogwash. It's pure hogwash. You cannot tell us that a country in Venezuela, a country like Venezuela, can hold our data, and then they say that is their intellectual property. Intellectual of who? Of where? Of how? I mean, Let's grow up for once, man. Let's grow up for once.
I really do have a question for you before I forget. You see, that is why I said, since Uhuru was the head of government, he should have looked at IBC documents to make sure that is a stipulation that was in the contract and said, no, if this company is insisting that they will hold the intellectual rights, then we cannot go with them. That is not interfering, because by him not looking, we ended up where we are now. So what you're not wanting to accept is the reality that we got a bad contract, whether it was through monkey business or not. The head of government, who is Uhuru, dropped the ball. So hiyo ni maziwa iliyomwagika na haiwezi zoleka, and it had nothing to do with Ruto. So I don't know why you should hold his government hostage for it, and that's why I called him a terrorist. Raila.
Thank you. I think Maina, I have been reminded to tell you, Maina, I have been
moderator.
Geoffrey, I'm giving you the chance. 1 minute.
Hebu niseme tu kitu kidogo tu, dakika moja, sitaongea sana. Actually nimebidi ninunue Bluetooth ambayo nitaweka after some few minutes. Sasa sijaweka bado. Na nitaweza kuwa nachagia hata kama niko kwa barabara. Nilikuwa tu nataka kuongea na Maina kidogo, sababu Maina nimesikia kulingana na Kiingereza ambacho unaongea wewe, ni mtu ambaye naamini ya kwamba umepata nafasi ya kusoma, umeenda shule, kuna mambo ambayo unaelewa yenye watu wengi wenye hawajapata nafasi kama yako hawawezi wakaelewa. About copyright, hiyo huwa iko kwa kampuni zote. Hata wewe mwenyewe ukiiba wimbo unaweka ile protection. Na hii kampuni ambayo ilikuwa inafanya uchaguzi wa Kenya, ningetaka mjue ndio kampuni yenye pia ilikuwa inafanya ama imepeana teknoloji ya kufanya uchaguzi wa Marekani, na mpangilio ni ule tu. Kwa hivyo sio kampuni ati unafikiria ni kitu ambayo ni kitu hivi. Ni kampuni ambayo imekuwa ikisimamia uchaguzi karibu dunia mzima, Smartmatic. So sijui ni nini ambacho mnajaribu kusema, kwa sababu kama ni hizo server mnasema data tunaweza kuaccess, lakini inaitwa partial access, ambayo kuna mambo mengine haufai kuenda zaidi, ili usiende kuchukua mambo ya vile mitambo imetengenezwa mkaenda kutengeneza yenu. Hiyo ndio mambo ya copyright. Jaribu tu kuongea Kiswahili kwa sababu kuna watu wengi hawezi wakaelewa hii mnyama anaitwa server ni nini. So sisi ndio tunastahili kuambia watu ya kwamba sio eti ya kwamba hatupati data yote ya vile uchaguzi ulifanyika. Server zingine ziko Kenya, ile main ndio iko kule Venezuela, na ile data iko kwa portal ndio bado iko kwa server. Kwa hivyo hakuna kitu kingine ati unaenda kutafuta huko. Kitu ya pili, Raila Odinga ametuambia ya kwamba ati amefanya ile inaitwa ethical hacking. Sasa kusema ukweli, ethical hacking kama ameshafanya, mbona bado anatuambia tufugue server na ameshafugua? So hii ni mambo tu ya kuchanganya wananchi. So kampuni ambayo ilipewa hiyo kazi, nilisikia mtu akisema ati sijui Venezuela kuna vita, hiyo ni nchi ambayo hata haijasimama vizuri. Hiyo kampuni ni kampuni kubwa, na ndio hata imepewa kandarasi ya kufanya uchaguzi wa hapa Marekani. Kitu kingine ambacho nimekuwa nikisikia mkiongea mambo ya IEBC. Kitu cha kwanza mjue Chebukati alikuwa mwanachama wa ODM. Na Chebukati alikuwa amesimama hata MP na chama cha ODM upande wa Sabaot. Na ningetaka kama tuko na nafasi, Messi, unaweza angalia clip ambayo inaonyesha wakati Chebukati alikuwa anafanyiwa interview. akaulizwa kama amewahi kuwa mwanachama memba wa chama chochote, akasema ndio, yeye hata alikuwa amesimama MP na chama cha ODM, na wale walikuwa wanampigia debe achaguliwe akaweze kuwa kwa IEBC. Mmoja wao ni Raila Odinga. Sasa mtu ambaye alikuwa kwa chama chako na ukampatia ticket na ukamsukuma aingie kwa kile kiti, anawezaje kuwa ati anakulig out? Sasa sasa hivi mnamuita maneno kwa sababu alikosa kuwasaidia kushinda uchaguzi. Na niwaambia ya kwamba kulingana na mpangilio ambao ulikuwa katika Kenya, ilikuwa gumu sana mtu yeyote kusema atabadilisha matokeo, na ndiposa unaona wale wanne walikuwa wamewekwa na Rais Kenyatta walishindwa kumsaidia. Vyenye walishindwa kumsaidia ndivyo hata Chebukati angeshindwa kusaidia mtu yeyote, maana pale Bomas kulikuwa na watu tofauti tofauti, kulikuwa na foreigners, kulikuwa na observers. Ungebadilisha namna gani? Kwa hivyo huo uchaguzi, hata kama kuna wizi ingefanyika labda kule mashinani, na ujue bado mashinani kulikuwa na agents na bado kulikuwa na watu ambao wanasimamia hiyo mpangilio wote, na ndivyo judiciary ikasema servers zinaweza zikahakiwa. Je, mnaweza kuhaki makaratasi ambayo imenakiliwa kwa karatasi ikaandikwa kwa kalamu? Kama agent wanasema hii ndio tulipata, ndio matokeo, sasa mnatuambia nini? So sitaki kuongea sana, lakini baada ya dakika kidogo nikiweka YouTube, nikiweka Bluetooth, tutaweza kujadiliana zaidi. Asante.
Asante sana. So Maina,
he said something inconsistent.
Wait,
mathematics is located in the UK.
Ashley,
it is not in Venezuela.
Ashley, do you mind that you are able to give us time so that we can give you time to
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. What did you want to say? Go ahead. You have the floor, Ashley.
I wanted to say that mathematics is located in the UK, not in Venezuela. They are working to automate either partially or fully, and then send it to the server. So the person
we can hardly hear you.
Because someone else is making noise, not me.
Okay, let me mute people here. Okay, Geoffrey, yeah, that was you. Go ahead, Ashley.
I was saying that Mburu said that the mathematics is in Venezuela, and that is incorrect. Their headquarters are in the UK, and what they do is automate the electoral system, so it's fully digital or partly digital, and then that information is sent to the server. So the server and the person doing mathematics does one thing, and then the servers are managed by a different company, and that is where Venezuela is coming in. That's the correction I wanted to make, that Mburu submitted, saying that I'm saying about Venezuela. Venezuela is a war-torn country, and they were managing the servers, which is different from what Smartmatics does, and Smartmatics is in the UK. That is where they're headquartered.
Correct. That has been taken into... yeah, so I just wanted to remind Mburu, what is it called? Maina. Maina, did Maina drop? I wanted to say something to him because let me see. I wanted to remind Maina that CIA is not the CIA that he thinks we were talking about. We were talking about an element of security, or computer or application security at the server level. So we were talking about the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data that is either saved or that goes to the server or out of the server. So we just want to make sure that you do not mistake. That is not the CIA. This is it called Central Intelligence something? That's not the one that we are talking about. We are talking about the management of data at the server level, that it must have three elements: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I explained, and there's a gentleman here, I wanted to invite him to come so that, and I want to agree with what he said. He said that Azimio, they are always using lawyers who are probably good constitutional lawyers like Orengo, but they don't have good lawyers who have good understanding and are well grounded on intellectual property. Intellectual property is not very old in the market. It's something that has now gained track from 2013 going forward, and many lawyers in many other countries have not taken keen interest to understand how intellectual properties and laws are governed and how they can prosecute it in court. So that's why we're saying when you come to court like Orengo might not know how a computer works. So he relies on someone to give him an understanding of how a computer works, how the server works, and puts an argument and brings it to court. That argument can be skewed, might not be substantial in itself, might not have grounding, and that's why tuliambiwa it's hot hair. So Black, I see your hand. Go ahead. And Mzalendo, karibu back. Ashley, thank you for staying on. Geoffrey, thank you for staying on despite the fact that you are on the road. You are very determined for the love of your country to stay here and spend time so that you can give your contribution that can change the trajectory of our country. You are all appreciated to be here, and we thank you for staying here and giving your contribution. Let's go, Black.
Thank you again. I just want to make this short, okay? I mean, these fellows have been saying that they managed to do some ethical hacking into the server. I mean, point is hacking. So if they have hacked the server, the integrity of the data in that server has been compromised. It becomes it cannot be credible. I mean, whatever it is that's there right now, right? So how do we believe that what is there is the actual data as it were originally? The answer would be, we do not know. So I think the fallback plan will be if they could be talking about that Forms 34As and they want specific Form 34As to be gone in through and what to angalie, that would make sense. But of this one, no. So for them causing this terror among innocent Kenyans who don't want to be involved with all these shenanigans, wanavunjwa mabiashara and all this is just terror. That's why, I mean, again, like I said, the government should not negotiate with terrorists, because anyone who causes terror is a terrorist. So the government should not negotiate. Thank you. And actually, I think you came up with, I mean, that's a good slogan. I mean, we should turn it into a slogan. Since they cause terror, they're terrorists. So the government should not negotiate with terrorists.
That is true. You know, there are three. I went and looked online, and it says, if you negotiate with terrorists, every time they have something they want done, then you have taught them that the only way to get from you is to demand by force. So that is one of the reasons you see, like now, because in 2017, he came with the same argument he has now, and he got a handshake. So they keep saying they need to talk. So you see, when they want to open the server, and then they say Ruto is refusing to talk. So what are they talking about? So they said there are three things: bad faith arguments. Bad faith agreements. So like antagonistic arguments, where somebody is just bringing an argument in order to stop you from doing something. Like now, when they bring these arguments, what they are stopping is the economy from picking up, and they're also stopping investors from coming into the country. That's one. Another reason you should not negotiate with terrorists is that some of them want to win, whatever the cost. Like this person say they will demonstrate until the end of time if the server is not open. They don't care how many people die. They don't care how the economy gets bad. They don't care how bad the security of the country gets, all so that Raila can be president. Is that a character becoming or work of a statesman? I don't think so. And then the third reason is where the person making the argument or the demand they know it's wrong, but they make it anyway. If there is anybody who knows that Ruto has no access to the server, it is Raila and his people. Yet every day they say that Ruto needs to open the server. And they understand very well that he has no access to that server. So for those three reasons, they are acting as terrorists. They should be treated as such, and they should not be negotiated with. And if the MPs do not want to go to the house, I wish I was Ruto. I would just take out all those positions and give that money, use that money to reduce they want to do public participation, then they can go to the public and cease being elected officials, and that money that they are being paid can actually go to make give somebody a plate of food, or even be used to be diverted for food. So they can make those practical steps. So that's what I have.
Ashley, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Someone is saying, it's a question actually that has been asked. It says, what if the government is made of terrorists like we have in this case? What's your take on that?
So they have to tell us what they mean. You see, I've given you reasons. So they give us reasons. We are talking from facts. Let us, even when they say, in fact, I remember Babu Owino said that he had his people who are also tallying the government as the IBC was tallying, and he knows that Baba was winning. So he asked us, really? How much was he winning by? He said it was so tampered with that he cannot tell for a fact how much he won by. He just know he won. You know, when we want to talk about something, we have to talk about tangible things, like say he won by 50%, or he won in Embu, but they are saying he didn't specifically, so that we can even go and get those physical forms and check what is being announced on the portal, whether it is the actual amount. Do some reconciliation between what we have physically and what we have on the system. We can do that without even going to the server. And once we find fault, then we can request the server to confirm that someone did interfere with it. But we cannot do it like on a wild goose chase. We don't have specific and say. And then during the petition, they actually chose some places where they were sure that they were rigged. And all of them, when they were counted, not one came back as rigged. The results, the physical result, tallied with the results that were on the portal.
Ashley, as you take a cup of water, I want you to reflect on what someone is saying. Someone thinks that you are delusioned, and he is just alluding that the fact that maandamano or protest started just 2 weeks ago, he is convinced beyond reasonable doubt that the KK government did not have any plan to revive the economy. I want you to come back after I've given Muzalendo. Is it Muzalendo or Black? But in the meantime, I just want to ask this question. Mina, Mina, try to put your camera on. I want to ask you a question. What do you think will happen? Raila has said he has 8.1 voters. Okay. Let us assume Ruto has 5.5 voters. What will happen if everyone called their vote what will happen if Ruto called upon his supporters to come and counter the supporters of Raila Amolo Odinga. Is that the kind of country that we want? I mean, I would like to hear from you, Mzalendo, and then we go to Black.
All right. Thank you, Mise. What I can tell you is that Ruto has been trying to restrain his supporters on the background, and for good reason. This is somebody who has gone to the ICC. He knows the repercussion. This other side, they really don't know the repercussion of whatever utterances that they are making. Like I saw them profile, they've already started profiling policemen, like that guy called Kimboi. I don't know whether they killed somebody, I have no idea. But Mise, Rwanda started like this in, was it in 1994, the genocide in Rwanda? It just started like this, just a simple hatred between the Hutu and the Tutsi. Some people felt like, I don't know whether it is the Hutu who look like Europeans with long pointed nose, and the Tutsis have got some broad kind of African look. So this other community felt like, you are representing us, but you are not Africans. And imagine these are black people telling another black person that, I think you are more of a European than an African. And you can't be leading us for this long. The other community was about 8.5% of the population. Why am I saying this? There could be some underlying hatred among communities in each and every election cycle. They come out, the underlying hatred among Kenyan communities. But now, what will happen in my prediction, I don't want to be the devil's advocate here. My prediction is that Azimio supporters, even if you go to where they are having their discussions, they want this thing to go on and on. So Raila is playing the script that he ought to have played in 2007. You understand? In 2007, when he called off the protest, so many people had died. Had they gone on with William Ruto and what they were advocating then in 2007, which was genuine, then they would be in power. So when they went to the negotiating table, Ruto also felt shortchanged later on. So there is some animosity between the two, going way back in 2007. And that could also be some underlying issues that we don't know as just normal people, supporting their political leader. But there are some underlying factors that we don't know. Now, when Raila wanted Ruto's support again, he decided to support Uhuru Kenyatta in 2017. That one again is some underlining factors that they are not really coming out and telling us, this is the reason why we did this. So I would say that the country is just a few hours. I will always say a few hours, a few minutes from distractions, from both ends, because we've seen clips going around where now gangsters, I wouldn't even call them protesters now. Gangsters have now taken over the streets. If they meet you anywhere, they are going to rob you. They are going to take everything that belongs to you. For people who are advocating for this thing to go on, remember, when these people are done with the rich people, they are going to come for the middle class. the middle class in society. They are going to enter your houses. When they are done with robbing the supermarkets and all that, they'll come into your rooms, into that bedroom of yours, and take almost everything, which they feel that they're being told that, you have been stealing from us, the poor now. You have been stealing from us, you rich people. That is why you are seeing the destruction in some parts of Eastlands. You are seeing destructions in Kisumu. And who are they targeting? They are not targeting one of their own. They are only targeting the rich, the people they think that have got something. But if they meet you on the streets, they will definitely rob you. But on the issues that we've been discussing about the suburbs and all that, let's just wrap it. It is not something that we will achieve. It is not something that is attainable. It is just a goose chase. It is not like Ruto is going to open the server, or is called Chebukati going to open the server. That is something that can never happen. So what are they pushing for? A negotiating platform. So many people have died. The West are not talking about the deaths that are happening. They have said that elections in Kenya were transparent, fair, and credible. When Azimio needed to start the protest almost immediately at Bomas, they didn't do that because they didn't have enough evidence to start all protest. They started way too late when they had gathered some information that, these things, we think that we can go this direction. So I think the protests are uncalled for. There are ways of addressing the cost of living, and you can address it through the legislators in parliament. Even a bipartisan bill that can scrap off free secondary education has never been sponsored in parliament. So I don't know what they are talking about. These people, they need just to talk to their legislators so that some of these costs can come down. When we talk about the cost of living and the subsidies being removed, we have talked about this thing time and time again. What are the subsidies? How are the subsidies helping us? Yes, the cost of fuel will come down, but is it for free? This is money that has been borrowed and injected in the economy. You will pay for it. You will pay for it eventually. It is not free money. You can enjoy that the fuel has come down, but are you not going to pay for it? Yes, you are going to pay for it. Is it a good thing to inject money into the economy? Yes, it is good, but in the long run, it is not sustainable. In the long run, a country like Kenya that depends on taxes, it is not sustainable. That is why the president went to negotiate directly from the petroleum producing countries so that they can buy petrol in Kenya shillings and not use the dollar. And you know why? Because there will be no middlemen involved that will be hiking the prices. So we expect Kina Shell, who are in Kenya, Kina maybe Total, who are in Kenya, and Gulf Oil to start reducing the pump prices because now there are no middlemen involved. So that those are some measures that will bring the cost of living down. But who will get credit when the fuel prices go down? Mise, that is the question for today. Who will get the credit when the fuel prices and the prices of unga, because since it is raining now, in the next 3 months we'll be having abundant maize all over Kenya, and the price of maize will come down. But who will get the credit?
I think it's gonna be Raila who is going to say he has forced, right? He has
The script is well written.
Yeah. So
It
let
is.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead,
The
Mzalendo.
script is well written. So people who are asking for the end game, that is the end game. Whether we go on a negotiating table Whether government goes to the negotiating table with Raila, at the end of the day, is the one who is going to get credit that the cost of fuel has come down. You'll get the credit that the cost of fertilizer, he brought it down. He'll get credit that the cost of maize has come down. Yeah, but without looking at what the government is doing. So the government should also come out clearly and tell us through the government agencies what they are doing in order to bring the cost of living down. Otherwise, Raila will run out with everything. He will run riot that he is the one who has brought the cost of living down. He is the one who has brought the cost of petroleum down. He has forced the government to negotiate with him. So that is exactly what will happen in the next few months.
And that's where he thrives. Mzalendo, thank you for pointing out that. And I also wanted to ask you, and plus Minor and Black, there is a supermarket that was robbed in Kisumu, and someone was crying and said, why do you rob the supermarket? This is where your brothers and sisters work. At the end, when it's said and done, the owner of the supermarket, who is the investor within that region, can decide whether to stay or leave. And when he leaves, who loses? Who loses? Is it him or you? Perhaps, the owner has insurance and he can get compensated and, get on his way. But on the flip side, there has been profiling of police officers who are doing their job. The work of the police officer is has been caught between a hard and a hard place and the rock and a hard place. So what you see the police officers are trying to do, they are trying to deal with goons who are disguising themselves as protesters while they are destroying property and injuring life and frightening the people who have come peacefully to demonstrate. But at the same time, the police have a job to do to maintain law and order. So profiling police officers, I don't think calling them names and all that, I don't think is a good thing, because the same police officers are guarding Raila Amolo Odinga. Yes, security as well. And that's why the other day we saw that there was a communication of radio calls from, Raila Amolo's vehicle, and Raila Amolo had it. So how does Raila Amolo respect other institutions when he's not supposed to have access to the communication of the police? But we saw him having the radio and communicating through the radio. But the other thing I wanted to say, there is a vehicle that is the media, or rather the communication for Raila Amolo Odinga, which has the license plate of I think KBB or KDD. So the license plates have been altered, and the vehicle is abandoned in the middle of the road. What do you want the police to do? And why would the journalists aren't the journalists supposed to be impartial and neutral and report what exactly there is on the ground? Why are the journalists then in Raila's vehicle? Are they going to be impartial in their reporting if they are housed by Raila's vehicle? So, I mean, these are some of the things that I would like you guys to as well try to look into as we continue. Black.
First of all, to answer that question, I think if not all, at least many politicians, or at least leaders, they usually travel with the members of their press. They have their own press people, and they have their own media people under their own paycheck. That to mean they do not necessarily have to belong to these media houses. Wanakuanga na wao specific wa kupeperusha habari zao. So I want to believe that these must have been or could have been journalists or media persons that belong to Azimio, not to any media house. Unless otherwise, if there was any that belonged to a media house, I stand to be corrected. Um, Secondly, I think there are some videos I've just posted at the private chat. Perhaps you can play them, Mise. I don't know if you've received them. And then
I can check.
thirdly, thirdly, I've seen Makiadi somewhere there, and I was hoping that perhaps he could join. I usually like us having the intellectual debate with him. I hope he can find time and join us. It would be great. I don't know if you can play those videos, Mise.
Yeah, Mburu, can you mute on your end? Makiadi ni mwoga, hawezi kuja.
No, he's able. He can.
Makiadi ni mwoga. I don't know.
Makadi
And then
is not principal.
He's not.
no, he will. He can.
He
He
is
can.
already
No, he
hii
can.
ndio
He can.
ile hao ndio
He's
watu
an objective.
wale
Makiadi is
they are
very
on the other
objective-minded.
side.
Makiadi is
No, he's from the
Yeah.
other side, but he's an Azimio guy, but he's a Kenyan. But I know him to be a very objective-minded person. I mean, I know him personally. He's a great guy.
No, yeah,
Now,
we used to love Makadi's debates until they started they started propagating for a revolution which is not there and peddling lies to the Kenyan public about the elections that were stolen. You know,
I think I can
sometimes,
vouch for him. Now, moving
yeah,
forward, let's not personalize things. Moving forward, this issue of Article 37. Yes, it's a
what we are saying without what we are simply saying is that we know it's content. No, there's no doubt about that. But the only challenge that we have is that he gives a blind eye when people come to a national television and start advocating for a revolution and hosting the president from State House, and Makiadi keeps quiet about it. So he's a good guy, and I admire him, and he was very accommodating whenever we had divergent opinion. But he went quiet as a soldier of democracy. He is quiet and silent. When you are silent to the so we want him to come back and make noise that he used to make. That's all we are saying.
oh no, he used to say tick blue. I told him you're going to tick blue until you reach the skies, but nothing green. He's still ticking blue.
No, he has no issues. He can come. But then Makiadi, it will be great, I mean, to have you in the show so that we can debate a few things here and there, get to hear things from different perspectives. Because especially this one that I'm about to bring on the Article 37, I mean, it's a constitutional, it's a constitutional right.
Hang on, Black. Mburu, can you mute, please? Mburu,
Geoffrey,
can you hear us? Geoffrey.
Just mute it for him, if you can.
I'm unable to do that.
Geoffrey.
Makiadi, Misa, you have dared Makiadi saying he's coming on the show. Please tell him to come with the answer of the server. Tell us.
You rattled a snake.
Yeah,
You rattled a snake. Anyway, they say you rattle a snake. So anyway, the thing is this. In matters Article 37, I know it's a constitutional right, and as much as it's enshrined in our law, it takes precedence over everything. It's supreme. Okay, I don't know. You're about to play something. Okay, let me let you play this.
Yes. I would love
just
to
play
see
then.
Makiadi
Play then. I can play. Just play it then.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see Makiadi coming.
Makiadi will come. He's just told you.
Mama kuna shida gani? Property yangu hata Facebook imebaki hapo ndani zote ndio hiyo inaenda wapi? Mimi naenda wapi sasa? Naenda wapi mimi? Nitaenda wapi? Niko na watoto, niko na family, nitaenda wapi mimi sasa? Nitaenda wapi? Nini? Bosi anapigia mara milioni moja simu, achukui simu, anasema nakuja mpaka inafika hivi. Wale wako hapa wanatoroka. Gari ya polisi wanakuja pale, wanapiga magoti, wanaibia huyo mzee. Wanakuja gari nasimama hapa wanaenda na wanavunja.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
that is
there's another one also.
So painful. Now, I would like
there's another one as well.
You will explain this.
There's another one as well. Another video. Just play them.
Okay.
Back to back. I mean, I want someone. I need someone to justify. I need someone to justify all these things are happening. That is maandamano. I mean, how does someone's business or how does someone's shop got to do with maandamano? I mean, what you're protesting for? I mean, eti mmefukuzwa na polisi. So how do you end up breaking a shop or someone's supermarket or business? I mean, how? How do you justify that? And you want that to happen? You want that to happen? You want that to happen every Monday and Thursday? So in short, every Monday and Thursday, people will be terrorized. People are going to be robbed. I mean, every Monday and Thursday. That's what you're propagating. I mean, that is what you're telling us. You're going to cause terror. I mean, we ought to think better than that. We ought to think better than that. And if we already know that we cannot control these people, then why go ahead with this? And that's why I was saying, I was about to come to this submission of the Article 37. As much as the Constitution gives the right to any Kenyan to protest, but there's a public act that also gives guidelines. I do understand that the Constitution is supreme to the act, public act. Okay, just play. It's okay, play, and then I'll speak.
Black, is Makiadi joining? Because Makiadi can answer these questions.
Just play.
Business operators loss shops. The goons vandalized a number of businesses, leaving a trail of destruction. 2 cars were also torched during the night of mayhem at B Center area of Kayole. The story was produced by Ben Kirui.
Of savages, tens of goons who invaded business premises during Azimio la Umoja anti-government protest in Tasia area of Embakasi and Kayole on Thursday evening were clear in the daylight Friday. This is a fashion boutique along Muindi Mweusi in the area of Embakasi. They loot its knees by goons. Amateur and CCTV footage shows they loot the locks and stole shoes. In this footage obtained by Citizen TV, looters are seen using all means to break in, at some point destroying the CCTV cameras after realizing the existence of it. In no time, they were inside scrambling for goods.
Kama kawaida venye tunasikia kuna maandamano, ilibidi tukafuga kazi, tukaenda manyumbani. Sasa fika wakati wa saa 11 hivi, nikapigiwa simu nikaambiwa duka imefuja.
When the looters left, the owners of VA Family Design 3.5 million shilling hole in their financial books. The owner, James Njuguna, says he set up the business in October last year with borrowed money.
Tulianza na 3.5 million. So na sasa tukiangalia tunaona ni kama walichukua kila kitu.
Hapa tulikuwa tunarauka kila asubuhi, jioni unaenda nyumbani. Sasa
one of the more affected state. This area of Nairobi, vandalized shops, bar and restaurants are evidence of the mayhem caused by looters.
Wale watu walikuja wakaanza kuiron huko kwa tungu na hiyo kwa yote hata siku mbili kwa zimeisha.
And 1 million shillings.
Ile kitu tumeweza kuokoa ni milioni moja. Miavuli imebebwa.
2 vehicles were also torched while another one was vandalized.
hiyo ni yote hiyo Bicenta kila mahali, ama tutakuwa tunafanya nini? Wa mama na wenye tunatafutia watoto hapa na kuna
Police station was not said either. Protesters are a concerned lot seems not to guarantee steel.
Yes.
Friday night starts now.
Is it hanging from my end or is from your end?
The video is hanging. You guys trying to play it at the same time?
Oh dear, oh God.
Wait, how are your videos?
Just 1 minute.
And the devil appears.
Just give me 1 second.
And the devil appears. Sema Makiadi is there. Unaona Makiadi wameita wamelilia wembe.
Mr. Jambo.
Wamelilia wembe ukaleta pale.
Jambo sana. Black, do you still want? Black,
yes,
you
as I
still
was
want me
finishing.
to play the second video? Okay.
No, I was just finishing.
Karibu sana.
Yeah.
Umeishia mkaja.
Hizi videos aje zile wazicheze.
Haya, so mambo ndio hayo basi. Sasa karibu sana Rich Makiadi. It's good to see you. It's like a Christmas seeing you. Karibu sana Black. Go ahead.
Yes. Before I proceed, karibu sana Makiadi. It's been a while. It's always great debating. Naona wameitana ukaitika mwito. Wamesema kuchokora nyuki. Anyway, I hope you're doing fine. Like I was saying, we have all seen the distractions that have come up with the so-called maandamanos, the so-called exercising of people's rights as per Article 37. This is the outcome. Now, as much as I want to believe and that every Kenyan citizen has the right to protest and ticket as per Article 37, but there's also a public act which tries to give guidelines on how this can be done without infringing the rights of those that do not want to do the same, and at least to bring order, public order, as this event or activity is happening. As much as I do appreciate the fact that yes, the constitution takes, is supreme to all the laws, and in this case, supreme to the act. But all the same, at the same time, we cannot just tupilia kando hii act. It goes hand in hand. So, at some point, I think in 2020, there was an act that had been into the bill that had been introduced in Parliament to try and rectify this act, or rather add something to this act, Public Order Act, whereby the organizers of such events or such activities as the protests would be held responsible in the case of losses such as these. Now, this was ilikuwa imepelekwa second reading, and up to this point, I don't know what happened to it. So I don't know whether perhaps we should also have a discussion about this in relation to what has been happening, if perhaps it can bring some sanity to Kenyans as they try to exercise this right of protesting. What do you think about this? I mean, should it sail through that the organizers of such activities like the protests should be held liable and responsible for such losses, if and when they occur?
Thank you. Black, Ashley, you want to respond? And then we have Zalendo, and then Mr. Makiadi is ready to respond to all allegations you've leveled against everyone.
Okay, I haven't written most down, but Makiadi said I'm disillusioned. I didn't understand by who. And then he said about the demonstration having only gone up for 2 weeks, and the Kenya Kwanza government did not intend to revive the economy. So what I'm wondering, I haven't seen Azimio bring any suggestions that have been rejected in parliament or even on the streets. What they are saying is protecting the high cost of living. So how is that helping revive the economy? If they had gone to parliament and brought suggestions on how, or one, said we'll take a pay cut and we'll forfeit our benefit and tax in order to inject that money back into the economy or into giving people some money in their pocket so that they can afford to buy food, I can see them trying. And then if it doesn't work out, then they can go to the streets. But if Kenya Kwanza is not doing it, how is the answer going to the streets to exacerbate the problem? I don't understand that. Okay, now I was looking into Jose Camargo. I hadn't looked into him, and someone talked about Smartmatic, and even in court, I think a lot of people don't know. I've just found out that he works for Smartmatic, and we've learned Smartmatics is in UK. That's the headquarters. So, and he's just, I have friends who are applications engineer. You can't subpoena an individual in a company. If you have a problem with a product, you subpoena the company, not the individual. So I think when they went and subpoenaed, when they started asking Camargo to give them password to the server, he can't even do it because he would actually be fired from his job because he's not self-employed. So I don't know whether I'm not very smart, but I believe Raila has smart people who should figure out that they should be able to subpoena Smartmatics because they're in the UK. That is something that is doable. He's just stationed in Venezuela. I looked online and I saw that even in the court, they say that mathematics is in Venezuela and it's not. So they have a lot of, I think even this thing of opening the server, a lot of people are just saying it without really going into detail to understand what is going on. Because when I look at this lawyer who went to court to say that this Jose had installed, he says, Camargo of Smartmatic accused of installing president. Then what was the proof? The proof they gave the court, what as his name was found on the papers. What if he was a little clumsy and the name was left there? How does that prove that he interfered with the election? And that's what we are saying. If you can say because of these and these specific, precise reasons, the election was interfered with, not thinking, not guessing, but precisely, you know that it was interfered with because we have reconciled the physical paper ballots with what is on the portal. And there is this discrepancy. So for that reason, this information was tampered with. Now, what information they went to give court that I'm finding, Miss Julie Soweto also unearthed 2 forms, Form 34B from Kim's kit with the same serial number. One was in Nyeri, the other was in Mount Elgon. So they were told that those 2 kits had a way to identify their address, so the 2 did not interfere, even though they were the same serial number. There is a way you could differentiate between the 2. The other reason that she used was his name being found on the ballots. And I don't see how that can interfere. But you know what they can do? Initially, Mother Karua had said that she would go to the East African court. I think if they are sure, instead of holding the country captive and causing even the people to die for something that may just be hot air, they need actual facts. So if they really believe that their case is valid, I think they should go to the East African court and follow the process and unearth all this information, all the evidence they have, and see if we can get to a resolution, because I personally would like them to get to a resolution. There's no benefit to any Kenyan when we have, if it was true that the election was interfered with. And imagine we are fighting for just one person to have a position. Is it even worth it? Because we are only fighting for Raila to be president. Will it then magically change the economy where it becomes better by him just becoming president? It won't. Why can't we do other things that can really make changes? I wish they were on the streets saying that we need free education for our children from kindergarten all the way to university. If they used to offer this free education even in the college level, back in the 80s and the 90s, I think, and early 2000s, why can't they do it now? Shouldn't the economy have got better instead of worse? If that is the reason they were going to the streets, that's something we can support. But just because they want one person, to be given a position, it's worth fighting for. It's worth blackmailing the country to where our economy is getting worse, to where investors are afraid to come to our country. Is it really worth it at the end of the day as a patriot? That's my question.
Okay. I think who wants to go first? It was Mzalenda and then Makiadi.
I think most of the questions we have been.
Okay,
so most of the questions have been directed to Makiadi, but maybe I know you'll answer that. Makiadi, karibu sana, long time, my friend. I've not seen you in quite a while.
Yeah.
You've been hiding in the background. But welcome back, Makiadi. My question to maybe the panelists is that, and maybe Makiadi would elaborate this, because when we started the issue of rigged elections, we didn't have a lot of information. Now, informations have been trickling in from all quarters. There came the whistleblower, there came the issue of the servers and the manipulation of, you remember the story of JPEG and PDF. You know, we were at one point on the stories of JPEG and PDF with Makiadi and the rest. But now we realize that we were not addressing the real issue. The issue was in the 290 constituencies in Kenya, the 290 constituency plus one diaspora, 291. Where did Raila Odinga have a problem? In which constituency? So that he can tell his people that I had a problem in Dagoretti constituency, I had a problem in Nyeri town constituency. I had so much votes, but what was presented at Bomas was totally different without going to the server. Then now Makedi can also tell us why, who is this guy who is going to open the server? Is it logical, or we are just chasing some hot air about the issue of opening the server? Is there anybody who can open the server at this particular point in time? I think that's all I have. I don't want to bombard Makiadi with a lot of questions, but I believe he's capable enough. He will answer the few questions that we put across. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Makiadi. Karibu sana. And Black, what again? Unataka kusema nini? Ama unataka nikupee nafasi ukaribishe uweke red carpet kwa Makiadi ndio aingie? Haya,
Amezoea red carpet. No, swali tu ni hiyo tu venye ilikuwa imesemekana, maybe the panel can also assist. And as I said before, if the server, as per the ethical hackers mentioned by Raila, wali hack server. Now, doesn't the server lose its credibility at this point in time? Because how do we know what has been done there?
Haya, karibisha Makiadi basi, tuambie, tupige makofi aje, alafu tuzungumzie.
Karibu Makiadi.
Asante mise, wacha niwasalimie kwanza. Unajua mimi ninaweza piga siasa kila mahali kwa sababu I go with facts. I can come here and talk because I believe what I talk is based on facts. Number one, Ashley is talking about and it feels so good when all attention is on you. Unajua wakati ile tulikuwa nakuja pale mnatusumbua watu ya UDA na maswali kila mtu anataka kukuuliza swali, you feel so good kwa sababu you get extra time. Ashley anasema opposition ipeleke bill kwa parliament ya kupunguza gharama ya chakula. And I would have wished Ashley akuwe hapa ndio nimjibu, because if a government is serious on helping people, it does not need to be pushed by the opposition. The minority MPs are not supposed to take a bill into parliament to push the government to help Mwananchi. I think we agree on that. If you promised Mwananchi that you're going to lower the price of food, then you do not need an MP to make you do your job. And I want to say this government of William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua has been a failure from day one. And that is why we are looking at almost 9 months into their leadership with no concrete solution to the issues that are affecting common Mwananchi. So far, what we are doing is we are looking at a government that is politicking every day. Every day. Where are those plans that you told us you're going to implement to help common mwananchi? Show me one. Nionyeshe kitu moja ambayo serikali imefanya kusaidia mwananchi wa kawaida. Zero. There is nothing that these people promise they are going to do for the common mwananchi that they have done so far. And I can be held accountable for that. Niulize swali. You can ask me na nikuambie this is a failed experiment in the Republic of Kenya. That is number one. Number two.
Makiadi, 1 minute. Makiadi, this your camera. There's a little bit of. Can you adjust a light that kind of distorts your face? There's one light. If you turn it off, your face will be visible. But
Studio yangu inakuanga na mwangaza mingi sana. If I turn
ile ya nyuma.
Hebu nione. I don't know if that's too dark.
Weka hii.
That's too dark. Which one?
Hii yenye umezima pande.
This one.
The front one, the one that is in front of you.
I don't have any other light. Mise, wacha mambo mingi. Wacha tuongee. Mimi najaribu kukusaidia unione ndio usiseme ni clone. Let me I think nikimove light ina nini? Light ina.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So this is a clone of Makiadi. It's not the real Makiadi.
So wacha niendelee. You guys are interfering with my time and I let you speak. So number two, mise unajua saa ingine ukikuja hapa kupea watu propaganda, unasikia it is the same thing that UDA speak everywhere on social media, you know, everywhere they have a meeting, mnatuambia mambo ya gari sijui number plate ilikuwa imeblokiwa, sijui nini, you know. Let us look at the critical thing here. This is a person who breaks into a car and shoots inside a vehicle ya mtu. So let us justify this. Tuseme okay, alivunja gari. Kwa nini watu wa media walikuwa kwa gari ya Azimio? Is that how we want to reason? Is that how we want to reason as Kenyans? If I know very well the way media stations do their work, at the time when we had campaigns, we had specific journalists that were assigned to specific political formations. And Black unajua hiyo. Hii hata si kitu ya kuargue. Kuna journalist alikuwa na cover mambo ya Azimio. And you know that. Kuna journalist alikuwa na cover mambo ya UDA. So there are journalists right now as we speak, who are affiliated to NTV, who are affiliated to Citizen, who are sitting on top of that vehicle, wakikava maandamano, na walikuwa injured. So the way UDA want to paint it is, why were they in a vehicle that belongs to a political formation? That is how we want to justify this whole issue. And we want to show that ilikuwa ni makosa yao kupigwa na polisi. Let me say this. I do not advocate for violence. And Mzalendo, you said something here that I agree with you here. That the way this thing is going right now, the anarchy that we are witnessing in our country right now, when the government feels that they are in control, they cannot listen to anybody, like Rigathi Gachagua said. They said wakati tuliwashinda walikuwa na serikali and all that. And pictures and videos that we are seeing coming from the streets of Kenya that are not in any way relevant to the protests that are going on. Youths walking in the streets and robbing people, mugging people in daylight, in broad daylight. That should be a worry for us as Kenyans. It doesn't matter which political outfit you support, because this is an issue. If nobody takes concern right now and does something, we are going to have a country that will be ruled by thugs and marauding youths who have nothing to lose. People in Kenya right now are suffering because they do not have jobs, number one. Number two, they can take any opportunity available to feed themselves. Na hawa ni vijana ambao wako na familia zao, wanajaribu kuwatafutia chakula. So wakati wanapata opportunity kama hii, where the government sits for 24 hours without reacting, when people's properties are being broken down, looting is going on all over the country, and the government sits on its arms and says, you know what, we are in control. Hamtatutisha kwa sababu sisi tuko na serikali. This thing can escalate. It can move from what we call maandamano to something else that nobody can stop. And this is not about UDA. This is not about Azimio. If we don't put a stop to what is happening in our country right now, we are not going to have a country. Ukiangalia ile rika ambayo inafanya vitu kama hizi ni vijana wadogo. These are people who went to school, they have a university degree, walimaliza high school, they have no source of income. It is a greater societal problem that we are having right now. And so mzalendo, hapo mimi nakubaliana na wewe. There are people who are out there kuandamana genuinely, and there are people who are out there to steal people's property, to rob people, to destroy property, and to take any opportunity possible to loot. Now, the problem with this is it comes to a time whereby it degenerates to a point whereby it becomes chaos. And if we are not careful moving forward, the videos are out there. People are telling the police, these are the faces zenye wanafanya wanachoma magari, hawa ndio watu wanavunja biashara, and the police are doing nothing. The IG has become a person who is, he looks like a comedian. He's not taking responsibility for anything. All he does is make political statements. And one side says, IG yuko sawa. The other side says, IG ana makosa. So, gentlemen, let us agree. If William Ruto needs to run a country, then he has to agree to make sure that the country is governable. The way we are descending right now, in the next few months, we are not going to have a country. And this is not about politics. This is about taking care of mali ya mtu. Kama mise uko na shamba ama uko na biashara, ikivunjwa na mtu akurudishe siku ya zero, basi hapo ndio mahali tunaelekea. Mimi
Yes, I have a question for you. Did William Ruto call these young men and women, unemployed, employed, to the streets to come and destroy property and life? That's the first question. Before they were called, wasn't the country peaceful? Was there any damage of property, loss of life before this protest was called? And is this what you want to see going forward? That our country, the property that you have said, is destroyed, and we don't hold people accountable? What if the government asks those policemen not to go to the streets to do anything? Or what if they ask them to go and watch them destroy the properties that Raila Odinga asked them to come and destroy? I would like you to respond to that.
Please, have you ever heard Raila Odinga calling people to destroy property? I don't know what media you are watching or what you're drinking in that glass here right now. But let me tell you this. If the government cannot take care of property ya watu, then why is it called a government? Why is it there? Ni ya kazi gani? Hakuna mtu ameambiwa aende nje kuandamana avunje mali ya mtu. In fact, let me tell you something. When you see violence in the streets, it's because somebody somewhere has provoked the people. Right now, Wakati tulikuwa tunaona mikutano ya Raila Odinga ikiendelea kila mahali, kwa nini mali ya watu haikuvunjwa? Kwa nini hizo mikutano zote Raila Odinga amefanya zinaitwa baraza na wananchi? Kwa nini hakuna mali, hakuna hata duka ya mtu imevunjwa? Then you should be asking yourself, wale watu wanapatikana sahi kuvunja mali ya watu ni akina nani? Na kama ni watu ambao wanajulikana, we have seen videos, we have seen pictures. Why has the government not taken responsibility? Why is the government leaving these people to roam around and break people's shops? Why is it a government? The government is supposed to instill order. The government is supposed to make sure that your property is protected. The government is supposed to make sure that when you ask for what, when you notify the government, when you notify the police that you're going to have a demonstration, that you as a demonstrator will be protected. The person who is doing business out there will also be protected, so that wewe ukiendelea na demonstration yako, yule mtu ambaye anafanya biashara pia biashara yake inachungwa. Why is the government not doing that if it's called a government? So we must agree here that somebody somewhere is not doing his job. It is either the police have decided to side with goons to make sure that there is no peace, or people have decided to take this opportunity to loot other people's property. It is as simple as that. But from where I stand, I believe that if William Ruto indeed believes in democracy, he should have done what he's supposed to be doing in real case scenario, and that is to make sure that even if we have demonstration, mtu ambaye anaendesha biashara atafanya biashara yake kwa amani. That is my idea. That is my point. But if they fail to do that, and we see a police that is biased, a police that is being used to settle political scores, then we are going to have chaos, and no one is going to prevent this chaos from happening. Nimekujibu ama nimeongea vitu zangu?
Umejibu vizuri sana. I think just to add on what Makiadi is saying, I mean, where we are heading, and I'm glad, Makiadi, you came to the show, and you speak a lot in so many platforms. We need to educate our people. If you are in Kenya in 2007, these things, they start just slowly. They progress very, very slowly. And the political class have, can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
Mzalendo, we can hear you.
Kidogo. The political class have formed the art of deceit. The art of deceit. What Raila and Azimio were advocating for in the beginning is to storm State House. You know, they have since then retracted from that. They are no longer going to occupy State House. And the message has been consistent on food insecurity or the cost of living. Now, who are they addressing on the cost of living? Are they are the MPs feeling the bite of the cost of living? The answer is no. They have not presented any bill in Parliament that can bring any change in the cost of living. Especially, Makiadi, what you said that I don't agree with is that you are telling the government to do its work. Why can't you tell your elected leader who is representing you at the constituency to do his work? The work of parliamentarians is to legislate, whether you come from the minority side or the majority side. We employed you to go and work for us, to bring laws that will help us reduce the cost of living. That is not the work of the President of the Republic of Kenya. It is the work of the elected leaders who represent you in parliament. Those laws are the ones which are taken to the president, and they become part of our laws. So in issues like school fees, for example, secondary school fees education, this is something that cuts across both UDA and Azimio. Who is this legislator who has brought a bill in parliament from the Azimio side saying that, we want school fees for secondary school scrapped completely because it's a burden? And tell me the legislators in UDA who are not going to support such a bill. So if these demonstrations were about the salaries of the MPs that are being our legislators are earning, then I would say, yeah, I'll join the mandamano. If it was about the 50 CSs that cabinet assistant secretary that Ruto has appointed, then we will think and say, this number is too big. Let us try and reduce it. But is Azimio talking about the salaries of the MPs? No. Is it talking about the 50 cabinet assistant secretaries? No. It is not talking about those issues, because these issues affect the legislators, the MPs. So that is where we are as a country. We must think and know that these people, they are representing their interest first. You saw when immediately when the former president lost his livestock in that farm, Raila was the first person to go to the farm. But when we lost a student in the Mandamano in Maseno, no legislator in Azimio has even condoled with the family. Zero. None. So they represent their interest. Where a poor man is dying, like that that lady who has lost an infant in Madare, nobody will represent her. That is gone. So let us be very, very careful with this Mandama on where it's going. Raila can stop it, can call upon his people to order. But the government should also look at the issues that the opposition leader is trying to raise. There are some which are attainable, but most of the issues, 99% of the issues, I believe, are being addressed by the current government. The issue of cost of living is being addressed, Makiadi, and you know it. The issue of the fuel high pump prices is being addressed. He was in the Gulf just the other day, and we are going to buy fuel directly from them, cutting out the middlemen. That is already being addressed. So when you say that, what is the president doing about the cost of living? The president has done a lot in the cost of living. Now, Amazon is coming to Kenya to build, a factory or a distributing center. That is a plus. It will create modern jobs to so many youths. So why are we not talking about the positives that are happening in the government? There are some things that are happening to address the unemployment. There are things that are happening to address the high cost of living. There are things that are happening to address the inequality in government. I believe if these issues were brought up properly in a manner, they could have been addressed in parliament other than burning people's property. Because if they miss that shop, then they will come into your house. That is what we are saying, and that is what we should watch out. We should not be excited about this running around. I remember when I was in 2007, I was in a position where these youths are. I know how it is, how you can be influenced to go and, rob a particular store. It is so easy, peer pressure. You go do it. You like running the cat and mouse game with the police. It's exciting when you're a teenager, so, because your adrenaline is running very, very high and you'd want to be in part of the game. We did it, Makiadi, everybody else at this point can do it. But the end game, that is what we are asking. The end game, as we